Hi. So not too long ago, I got a comment asking me to talk about rumination. And I don't know if that person is still watching, but if you are, this is my response because I'm actually going through it right now. And as a person who thinks too much, it's really a big issue. It is a big issue. Feeling powerless or feeling like there's something is not right and we have to resolve it, and we get stuck in it, and that's the rumination part. We get stuck with something we're meant to work on. It's kind of also being anxious in a very covert way, because if we don't ruminate, if we don't think about it, we fear that by default that's gonna lead up to some consequence that we don't want. Under all of this, we haven't really touched on the point where the actual underlying issue is. And a lot of times it's something we need to resolve in ourselves, but we're focusing on or dancing around the subject in a way without even realizing it. If we fast forward time and life goes the way it goes, and it doesn't matter if you believe in God or if you believe in destiny or whatever, all of these things, if you believe everything is coincidence or by chance, it doesn't really matter what you believe, but you are at point A now, and you're gonna be at point B sometime, right? Just fast forward time and think about what happens will happen anyways. And when you're stuck with something, you're meant to work on it. But also, it has to be a letting go as well. Because then, and excuse the term, but then we can fall into mental masturbation if we don't take action in these things. And sometimes taking action can be letting go. A lot of times the solution is to let go. It's strange, but it's not like we always have to control. It's not like we always have to do something. And it is really, really hard. It's really hard not to do that or not to fall into old patterns. It is really hard. But at the end of the day, do you always want to struggle with the same things? There has to be a balance between feeling like we have to change our whole being, because that's never the answer. It shouldn't be the answer to change your entire being. It should be tweakments that you do in how you approach situations and what type of messages do you tell yourself about what's happening. When you train that enough, that awareness and knowing how you feel, you separate it. You separate yourself from this conflict, from this person, from this situation, and you can see that a lot of times things are not personal and things happen because people are limited and you are limited as well. So giving you a false sense of security by ruminating, by thinking, oh, I'm gonna control this, I'm gonna do that, it's a bit, because I don't want to say, oh, just avoid everything, because that's also not the answer. But it has to be like a balance, and it's an art form. It is an art form. But it's something that we can approach consciously and change in the long run. At least change the intensity and the outcome. That's something you can do immediately. Like, just realize that you are this, what's happening now. It's not all because of you. It's not all you. It's not all something you can just think to death and that's it, because that's not how life is. We collaborate, and there's great pain sometimes in that, in being dependent on other people in one way or another, or influenced by other people. That's the pain. That's the rumination being. That's where we get stuck in ruminating, because of this pain. And to me, it just feels like this opening up and release when I realize that that's something I kind of need to grieve and be like, wow, you know, this existence, sometimes it feels painful, but that's the price we pay to be able to experience the good as well. We can lie to ourselves and say, yeah, you know, just avoid everything, be by yourself, and then everything is great. But I don't personally believe so. I believe we would always, because we are problem solvers, like we invent things, right, that makes us different than animals. We think into the future, we think into the past, and that is a massive advantage. But when we feel stuck, it can feel like it's a pain. It's a pain point in the human experience. So letting go is crucial, and trusting in that you have the capability to influence as much as you're supposed to influence without control, that you can be a positive influence, that you can grow as a person, to be more constructive, to not feel like, I should have done this, I should have done that, or this should have happened, that should have happened. You know, have this trust not only in yourself, but in your everything, what's happening around you, in your destiny, in your faith, all of these things, your path, your purpose, everything is not gonna improve just by you ruminating. You can plan something, you can come to a conclusion, and that's it. But we have to address why we're stuck. We have to see what's underneath to uncover it and to release it. Because what can you release if it's vague, and if your brain is running 1 mile an hour and there's no stop to it, there's no end to it, there's no goal really. There is no goal really. But yeah, it's a process. We always have something to work on, but try not to do the mistakes I did, where I just felt like everything at once. Everything has to be resolved immediately, because that's not how life works. And the beauty in it is it gives us space to do other things, because life is not about this one thing that you're ruminating about. We have to check our priorities, and sometimes it can be very hard if it's involving a relationship and we're ruminating about that, because that's something that's really important to us emotionally speaking. And it kind of, there's a type of survival instinct in that alone, in relationships alone. There is a type, you know, it triggers more primal things in general, not just the good times and the fun times. It triggers all of it. It triggers your fear of losing this connection for some reason, and it could trigger intense emotions that you may not be ready for, you may not know how to deal with, or you may deal with it in a toxic way, right? Yeah, letting go seems to be the safest thing to do. Letting go, but also not suppressing things. That means we do have to let it out somehow in a constructive way. And sometimes all you need is time. So either you address it with the person, whatever is bothering you, and you do it when you feel like you are not emotional about it anymore, right? So we either we do that with people, or if it's something with us, we address it with us, you know, and say, you know, yeah, this thing, maybe I felt like I did something wrong, or I should have stood up for myself, I should have done this and that. First of all, forgive yourself. And then think about what would be ideal. We have to be careful with like radical thinking, like, oh, I just have to be a different person and then everything would be fine. Or even worse, comparing yourself to other people. Because you can never compare two people, because you don't know them. You're not in their heads. I hope it gives some clarity, some insight. I'm actually going through it right now. And that's why it helps me to reflect on these things. And recently I just got the message over and over again: trust, 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 trust in your path, trust in your purpose, what's meant to be, what's meant to happen. And I reflected already on, before I made this video, on what I think I need to grow from so I can deal with things better. I know what I need to do, and everything else is on other people or on my destiny, and that's it. Yeah, gonna try to remind myself throughout the day that it's nothing is gonna change now beyond that, beyond realizing something and learning a lesson, and then get back to your true priorities, like foster that, because that's something constructive, that's something you're gonna thank yourself for, and it doesn't perpetuate this cycle where we shut down or we become depressed and all of these things. And do it anyways, even if you feel depressed and all of these things. Just go out, to do something, like do it anyways, or take a nap. I'm gonna share my path, because I came from a lot of hurt, a lot of abuse, and it's difficult to navigate the world. It's difficult to navigate the world, but because I've done so much research on psychology and stuff for like now nearly a decade, and I really analyze things. I want to share these things, because I think sometimes this can be like an eye opener, and this can really change. This can change our lives when we realize certain things. That's all what it is about, really. So yeah, try to take rest and ground yourself mentally, physically, and keep in mind you need to take good care of yourself, because nobody else will do that for you. And think about your priorities and go for that. I feel like there's a rainbow here. Yeah, look. Cool. Well, it's actually purple, so this must be the lighting. It's interesting. Anyways, take good care. Bye.